Hey guys, welcome back to the challenge. This is day 2. Today we're talking about how to delete fears at a cellular level. This part of the challenge of the whole topic of overcoming fears is my favorite thing ever, because we're going to talk about how your fears actually are encoded into your DNA, how to eradicate them at a cellular level, and what you can do so that you delete, eradicate, eliminate those fears for good. Oh my god, hey Dorothy Inez. And so I just want to say, like, if you are here, you're watching this live, or maybe you're watching the replay, I want to invite you to share this with a friend, because it does not matter who the person is, everybody has fears. Beyonce has fears, Oprah has fears, and so your friends, family members, they all have fears too. So I want you to share this video with them, because I want you all to learn the technique that I discovered 5 years ago that changed my life. It changed my life, and it helped me to become fearless, or when fears come up, when fears come up, it helped me to not fall prey to my fears or let my fears hold me back. So I'm going to teach you guys this technique today in day 2, and I want to say welcome. So for those of you who are new and you're like, okay, this video is cool, what is this challenge thing? So we're actually running right now a live free 5-day challenge called the Fearless challenge. Now if you see me looking here, just because I'm sharing this out to everyone, because like everyone needs this. So I'm sharing this out on my Facebook page and to some other places. But basically this challenge, right, once every 2 years I teach on this topic, the topic of overcoming fear. Now this is something that, oh my god, all right, let's say you're trying to go from having a 9 to 5 to actually having your own business, or having a business, having a successful business, to having a wildly successful business. It doesn't really matter what the level is that you're going from. Fears do come up, fears can stand in our way, but half of the time, a vast majority of the time, we don't even know that these fears are running the show. They're happening subconsciously, and so we end up procrastinating, we end up self-sabotaging, we end up changing our goal, like we have a bigger goal and we end up playing small and setting a smaller goal because of fear of what if it happens, what if it doesn't happen, what if we get rejected, all of that. So what we're talking about today is how you can change all of that at a cellular level so that you no longer have those fears. We're going to talk a little bit about generational curses and how the fears of your ancestors have been actually passed on in your DNA, because they stay in our DNAs for up to 6 generations. We're going to talk about that, right? We're going to talk about how to change that, because if that's been happening, you know, if you think about like in the Afro-Caribbean or African-American communities, you know, we talk about things like slavery and how those things created trauma that were coded down into our DNAs, or the Holocaust or the Great Depression. So every culture, every people has had some trauma within the past 6 generations that has passed on into us who we are today, and stops us from really living our best life and really thriving the way we're called to thrive. So it has been shared out, great, and I hope you have also shared it out to your friends, family members, anybody who needs to see this. If you're watching as a replay, tag someone in the comments below. And yeah, and one last thing, so this is a part of a 5-part challenge. So this is day 2, this is part 2, and if you want to get access to part 1 and all the parts, then you want to make sure that you are using the link to sign up, because if you sign up with the link, you'll be able to get the schedule, so you know when I'm going live next and which day, and you know what we'll be doing on the different days, and you get reminders and stuff like that, so you don't forget and you don't miss out. And what else happens? Which other housekeeping activity do I have? By the way, if you're watching the replay, you know, always skip to the 5 minutes in while I do the little sharing out and things like that. Hold on. Just getting the link for the challenge to put in the comments for you guys, because I know not everyone has signed up with the link. You're here, you're watching through the page, but maybe you haven't signed up, and if you haven't signed up, then you won't get the email, you won't get the schedule, so you won't know when I'm going live. And also, last little housekeeping before we dive into today's content, you want to make sure that you watch these videos in this challenge as soon as they come out. Done, we're done. You want to make sure that you watch the videos in this challenge as soon as they come out, because guys, I'm going to be removing the videos at the end of the challenge. I'm going to be taking all the videos down, and I'm going to be actually putting this as a part of my paid program, which is the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course, which instead of me just giving you the concepts like we do in the challenge, I'm actually going to do it with you and help you to clear your fears at a DNA cellular level. So, enough said. We can start. So first of all, we're going to start by talking about how fears get coded in. Now, when I say fears, and when I'm talking about the Fears Fearless, this challenge, or my Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course, when I'm talking about fears, what I'm talking about is actually all the limiting beliefs and all the fears, like I'm afraid of, all these things that stand in our way. So what happens is that our brains, we have to remember that yes, we're human beings, yes, we have a frontal lobe, yes, we're intelligent, but we have to remember that before there's this frontal lobe, there's also a survival mechanism within our brain, that allows us to see when bad things happen, remember when those bad things happen, and remember them for the future so that we don't have those bad things happen again. Right? So it's kind of like if you are a baby, or none of us are babies, but like imagine as a baby, you see fire and you stick your hand into the fire and you get burned. So you learn that is dangerous for you to stick your hand into a fire or into fire, right? Or I don't know if you ever watched like these scary movies, or maybe it's not a scary movie. Like I was watching the Dark Phoenix recently, the with the X-Men, Jean Grey, she's a Dark Phoenix. And I remember seeing one of the ladies who the aliens took her over, right? Not Jean, but this lady with the blonde hair, and the aliens took her over. And she wasn't, aliens didn't take over yet, right? But she heard the dog barking and she goes out into the dark. Now, I'm watching the show and I'm like, why are you going out into the dark? Like, nothing good can come from this. So sometimes you're watching these scary movies and you're like, don't go there, right? It's because there's something in our brains that is wired for survival. And it's powerful and it works without us having to think about it. It works. Your brain is always trying to protect you. And so what tends to happen is that our brains will look in our situations and see if there's going to be a change, if there's going to be some kind of upheaval, and it will try to prevent that upheaval from happening. Now, this also happens in the reverse, because sometimes you're in a toxic situation, whether it's a toxic job or a toxic relationship, and your brain is like, no, don't leave, because of the toxicity. You're used to that, you're safe in that, you feel secure in that, you know what to expect. And the fear is of the unknown, right? So it's like, I'm afraid, I know I want to go to a different job, but I'm afraid, or I know I want to do something different in my business, but I'm afraid, or I know I want to do something different in my love life, but I'm afraid, because you know what that comfort zone is. And so that is actually your brain working all the time to keep you playing safe. And it just wants you to live. It wants you to live. It wants you to survive. It doesn't want you to thrive. It wants you to survive. It just wants you to exist. It wants you to survive. But that's a problem. And that's a huge problem for people like us who are like ambitious. We want to change the world. We're catalysts. We're spiritual beings on this life path. We're learning all these things. And these fears, they stop us from living our calling. Maybe you want to be wealthy. It stops you from being wealthy. Or, maybe you want to be somebody who is on TV or on YouTube, or you just want to have 1 million people who are in your programs or in your community that you're touching their lives. But then the fears keep coming up. Or maybe it's in your relationships. Maybe there's a change you want to make in your relationship, or in your career. There's some change you want to make, but you're like, I don't know what that is like. I know what this is like, so let me stay put, because that subconscious fear, that survival brain chips in and tries to take over the entire process. Now, the way fears get coded in is through two things, and two things only. People are telling you, all these ways how you got this fear, and no, two things. Two things cause fear to be encoded into your survival brain. The first thing is high intensity emotion. And this high intensity emotion concept doesn't just work with fears, it also works with positive things as well. But when something traumatic or something with high intensity of emotion, whether it's extreme joy, extreme sadness, extreme anger, any extreme emotions, you have to be careful of what you're thinking in that moment, because your brain sees you shouting, sees you crying, feels you freaking out, and it says, oh my God, something bad is happening, something is going down, I need to pay attention to everything in this situation. Okay, she is saying this, okay, so remember that, mark her words, right? So when we are going through or traumatic situations, or maybe you feel low or down, we can actually imprint ourselves with a host of limiting beliefs. So I'll give you an example of my own situation and how when I learned this technique, my whole life changed, right? So throughout most of my life, I was very, very confident. I was always a confident person. You know, I did have people bullying me in like primary school when I was like 6 and 7 because they thought I was smarter than, like, you know, I was like the smart one. So they were like, oh, you know, they were bullying me. Hashtag nerd life. But that never phased my identity of myself, because I remember my dad came to school and he roughed them up. He said, like, you put your hand on my daughter again, you know, like, and little 6-year-olds are quivering. So for me, I had like, yeah, you know, like it brought my, so I didn't have any like thing that caused me to not have confidence throughout my years growing up. But when I moved to Italy the first time, I just remembered being here. At the time, I didn't speak the language. That was, when was that? That was 2014 or 15? Either 2014 or 2015. But I was living in Italy. I came here the first time to live. It was 2015. And I remembered I didn't speak the language. I didn't have any friends. And even though, yes, there are black people here, I mean, I was like one of the few black people. And so I felt like a fish out of water, right? And I'm a social butterfly. You hear me, I love to talk. So I couldn't talk, I couldn't communicate, I couldn't express. And where I was staying at the time, I didn't actually have my own internet connection. So the internet situation in Sicily at the time wasn't as evolved. And so, you know, like you had to buy like a little modem. Even now, some areas here don't have like real internet, like fiber optic internet. You have to like buy the little modem, you get the SIM card. And so my internet situation wasn't the best, and I was just in a box. And I just remembered always comparing in that moment. It's just a short amount of time, but I started comparing myself. And I was also in business, and I remembered, you know, feeling like I was too young, also having an accent, also, you know, so many things. And I would look at all these entrepreneurs and I'm like, wow, none of them look like me, none of them sound like me, none of them are talking about what I talk about. I felt like a fish out of water in business. And then living in Italy and then looking around in my physical situation, I also felt like a fish out of water in my living situation as well. And so there were so many ways I was being pulled back and forth. And I just remembered going into the bathroom, closing the door, laying on the floor and bawling, depressed, bawling and saying like, why me? Why don't I have any friends? Nobody likes me. No, like, she's better than me and she's better than me. And I did not know what I was doing. In that moment, what I was doing was actually coding my subconscious mind to believe that I was not good enough, to believe that no one wanted me, to believe that I was unworthy. I didn't have those beliefs before, but because of that high intensity emotion, my subconscious mind says, oh my God, she's losing her mind. She's literally in the dark on the floor of the bathroom, nose running crazily, she's bawling her eyes out. Like, okay, we need to pay attention to everything that's going on here because we don't want her to feel this way ever again. But what it ended up doing was coded within my cellular membrane and within the cell memory that was my identity, even though it was not. And so when I learned this process, I thought about all the times when I got angry and I shouted and I said things, you know, or when I got really sad or I cried, and like when all the negative things that I would have said to myself in those moments of high intensity emotion. And I want to explain to you that this is why when you see people go to like deliverance services, you know, if you're in the Pentecostal or the charismatic movement, you'll see people go to these these deliverance services, and usually there's a lot of like clapping and dancing and jumping. Or like even if you think about Tony Robbins, I don't necessarily think he realizes this scientific thing behind what he does. But when he's letting people run on coals and jump up and down and scream and things like that, what's happening is he's actually recoding them with new beliefs. While they're screaming, shouting, or in the Pentecostal movement, if you're getting a deliverance service, that kind of thing. So that's some of the science behind how these things work. Now, here's the thing. On a daily basis, you will not have a Tony Robbins event. On a daily basis, you will not have a deliverance service. So when a fear comes up on a regular basis, how do you recode, wipe out, and clear that belief so that your DNA, your cell memory, your cellular body, your energetic body, your emotional body no longer resonates with that vibe and with that lie and that frequency anymore, right? You want your body, your mind, your thoughts, your actions to be in alignment with your desire and your goal and what you are actually called for and meant for, right? So the first thing like I'm saying is the fears, the limiting beliefs, these lies, they get coded in because of these high intensity emotion, good ones and bad ones. That's why you'll find, like, if someone back in the day they found gold during the gold rush, you will see that their children tend to be very, very lucky, or tend to believe that they're very, very lucky. It's because, oh my God, we're so lucky, gets coded into their DNA and it's passed on. It actually stays in your DNA for 6 generations. And of course, in the Fear Free and Living Legendary master course, for those of you who do decide to join me, the link will be below. Actually, I should probably put the link now. But the link should be in the description or around this video. For those of you who do decide to join me, we actually go into all of how it really works so that this is not about just me teaching you stuff. I want to give you tools so that when a fear comes up, you can catch it, you can flip it, and you can literally create the opposite. So if you have a fear of, oh my God, I'm gonna have too much responsibility, no one likes me, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not ready yet, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my God, everybody loves me. Oh my God, like your whole life begins to change. And one of the things, this like a little manifestation of this happened yesterday, where a client of mine, she was watching one of my YouTube videos, and YouTube showed her that I had 1.7 million subscribers. Now, I know that depending on when you're watching this video, because who knows, maybe it's true by now. But at the recording of this video, that is far from the truth. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I'm like really, really excited about that. And that has grown within the past few short amount of months. My account has actually 10x, because before I just had 80 subscribers, and in just a few months, boom, more than 10x actually. And so when she sent me that screenshot, excuse me, when she sent me that screenshot, my heart went what? 1.7 million? I'm like, no way, this is what? Well, I didn't say no way. I was just wait, what? And I knew I had checked it earlier that day, so I knew it wasn't true. So I'm just like, oh my God, YouTube is glitching and showing this as the truth. And then I realized that 2 days before that glitch happened, I actually flipped a belief of my own that I deserve, that I have way more than enough subscribers. I actually 2 days before, and my sister, I had this conversation with her, she and I spoke. I might even post some of the screenshots below in this chat box so that you can see them. But my sister, she and I were talking, and I was telling her, I'm switching my belief to way more than enough. Not just more than enough, but way more than enough. And as I flipped the way more than enough for my subscribers, energetically I changed. I literally shifted everything at my genetic state. I shifted everything at an energetic state, at a cellular level. And within 2 days, it's like, remember that YouTube's algorithm, right, guys? This is a quantum mechanical tool, an algorithm. It probably picks up on my frequency, and it's like, okay, this girl is, 1.7 million. And I'm just like, yes. And it's already done in the spiritual realm. It's already done on the quantum realm. But there it was manifesting, glimpsing the manifestation and seeing the possibility of the manifestation in the actual physical 3D realm. Now, I know you're saying Shani, but DNA, how can you just change your DNA? You can't change your DNA, you inherit your DNA. Actually, only 3% of your DNA is what codes for your phenotype. So when you look a certain way, or you get a height, or you can do this that you got from your parents, with your tongue, or you can roll your tongue, or you have lobes or no lobes, or curved pinky or straight pinky, or all those things that you get from your parents. Those things only make up 3% 98% of your DNA, 97% of your DNA is actually junk DNA. And the junk DNA is where this survival is coded into. It's coded into it because without that, the species would never continue, right? So our ancestors went through a whole lot of stuff and they code within the cells of our DNA all the things that we can do so that we're not making the same mistakes, so that we're learning from them and we have those tools to survive. But the problem is that we get coded in for also some things that are not of service to us, like unworthiness, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, you know? And I was actually talking to my sister about this, when was it? I think over the weekend, the same day when I was telling her about when I like flipped the switch on that belief. I think it was the same day. And when she and I were talking, I was explaining to her how, like, even when we think about like the African American communities, the African American, and I say African American, I'm not American, I'm Caribbean, I'm like Afro-Caribbean, but like when I say African American, I'm talking anyone whose ancestors were taken through slavery to Africa, okay? That's what I'm talking about. So if you think about that, right? If you think about people in this community, we're very entrepreneurial, like very, very entrepreneurial. Like extremely. Everybody is always like, they always have a little side gig, they always have a little hustle going on, they always do another thing. Like, think about all the people you know, and like how many of them have a little thing on the side that they know how to make money, they know how to do that. And one, it came from not having education on the plantation, right? So if you didn't have education, the only way, when we left and slavery was abolished, you know, education was still scarce. So in order to survive, in order to feed your family, because now you didn't live on a plantation anymore, in order to do that, you had to do things. You had to be innovative, you had to be creative. And so generally, there's a lot of creativity within the Black community or the Afro-Caribbean community. Again, guys, when we talk about race, I know people get their, like, panties in a knot, you know, their knickers in a knot. If you are from a different country or whatever, just listen to the example, like, don't get too much into the, like, just remember that I'm sharing from my experience as somebody who was born and raised in the Caribbean and knowing what I know about our shared heritage from the Caribbean. But if it's different for you, then girl, boy, person, find an example that makes sense, or listen to the example and take what makes sense, and everything that doesn't, just like put it to the side, okay? But what I'm saying is, there's a lot of innovation and creativity. However, if you think about the wealth in the Black community, you will find that of the list of the billionaires, of the top 10 billionaires, how many of them are Black? Like, none of them are Black, right? If you look at the 20, I think you're probably like finding 2. And as you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper on the list, you'll find that there's a complete misproportion of how many people in the Afro-Caribbean community and in the African American community who are billionaires, who are like balling, like rich. Why is that? Hi, Vicky. Why is that? Well, it goes back to the same thing I was saying about DNA being coded in. Remember, we were taught to work for free, right? We were taught that we cannot make money. We were taught that we can be innovative, but we should work for free. We should not be rich. We don't deserve to be wealthy. And so even though obviously there are people who have broken through that, which this is why we're doing this challenge, so that you can also break through that, because I've done mine, and I'll share with you, like, my grandparents, everybody, my whole father's side of my family, they're all entrepreneurs. That didn't mean that they made any money though. Like, and my grandma, like, oh my God, she would give away her stuff for free. And my grandfather, he had his business and then they wouldn't pay him. Like, all these things. And those things get coded in because you don't deserve to be paid. You don't deserve to get paid for this work, right? So when these things get coded into your DNA and they're passing on through the generations for the survival of the species, remember, it's all about survival. That part of our brain is all about survival. It's not thinking about logic. It's not saying, oh, but this is 2019. We got the internet doesn't discriminate. Like, we can do whatever we want. So you have to make a conscious effort to understand what are these the conditioning that is impacting on you, right? And in day one, we talked about the whole contracts versus conditioning. where you're born brand new, fresh and free, clean and clear and under control, and then these conditioning come in. So the conditioning come from your socialization, but some of the conditioning also come from your ancestry and are passed along. So how can we break these things? How can we delete, eradicate, eliminate these things at a cellular level so that they never come back, right? So now you understand what that is. The second way how fears and limiting beliefs get coded in is that it comes in through repetition. Okay, that's how it comes in, through repetition. So the DNA piece is the scientific part, the repetition piece is the socialization part. Okay, so when they talk about nature versus nurture, we're both. All right, so we talked about the nature, but now with the nurture, if every day you wake up and you hear someone tell you that you're ugly and you're horrible and you'll never be anything good, like how on earth do you expect to like become something good? Like over time you begin to believe them, right? And there's this thing called in psychology. When I did my master's and everything, we learned about the self-fulfilling prophecy and the looking glass self, which means that when people around you expect you to behave a certain way, you behave that way because they expect you to behave that way, right? And that's the same way why you might have a kid who the teacher sees him as a troublemaker and he doesn't focus, and all of a sudden that kid is not doing well. But if you go to another school and you tell the teacher, oh, this kid is really intelligent, and that teacher believes he's intelligent, she will or he will begin to treat the student as if that's the most intelligent student, and all of a sudden that child starts to rearrange their behaviors, right? And so you might see that's why you listening to this, you are one way around your friends and you are another way around family and or some family members, and you're another way around like people you work with or people in your industry. It's because there's this self-fulfilling prophecy, this looking glass self. You show up as who you think they expect you to be. And so when you have this definition of yourself, you limit yourself because that's not actually your true identity, like we talked about in day one, contracts versus conditioning, right? That essence of you that you're showing up as is the playing small, the part of you that just wants to have survival. So when you want to change a limiting belief, there are two ways. Again, working on the DNA, either through the high intensity emotion or with the repetition. Or there's a third protocol, and it's the protocol that I love the most. And we're going to talk about it as we go further into the challenge. But I want to keep you on the edge of your seat. So, I'm not going to give you all of that. Right now, I'm giving you the thing about the DNA today. And I'm giving you the thing about how the DNA, the fears get coded in. And then we'll talk about what to do, the process of actually shifting it so that it changes forever. Right? So I want you now in the chat or in your notebook or both, I want you to think about the goal that you have, the same one we talked about in day one, right? And you also talked about, I know some of you talked about, you left your comments and you shared, what the fear was and all that stuff. I'm going to actually spend some time in the last part of this training or this day of the challenge going through some of that. But I want you to think about that fear. In fact, let's actually dive into it now. Let me go to the comments from the last video. Hold a moment, one moment. All right, how do I open this thing? All right, let's mute this because it's gonna start playing. Great. All right, so I'm gonna actually go through the comments from those of you who left comments on the last one, and I'm gonna use you as the example. So I'm looking at those of you who joined from YouTube. That's where I'm looking at first, and then I will come back and look at those of you who have joined me on. Hey Kiana. Hi. So today we talked about how fears get coded in, and we talked about how the DNA passes on for different generations. I specifically talked about the African American and the Caribbean communities, but this is also true for people who they're Jewish. They've been through, their family members were in the Holocaust, or people who maybe your parents and family members experienced the Great Depression. These things get passed down into the DNA. And so we're talking about how and why your brain actually latches onto these fears and these limiting beliefs of you can't do it, don't take risks, don't try that, be perfect. Because somewhere, somehow in the past, these things coded in. And Kiana, I also shared about how whenever you have a high intensity emotion, so let's say I broke down and felt depressed and I felt like I wasn't good enough or worthy, how me in that moment, my subconscious mind, my survival mind jumps in and says, oh my God, she's freaking out, something's happening. and it pays attention to all the lies and limiting beliefs I'm telling myself in that moment, and it makes them out to be true, because now it wants me to survive. It's trying to protect me. So we have to also be very careful of how we react in situations when we're feeling high intensity emotions. So the first person that I'm going to use as our example for today, hey, hopefully you're not hopefully, girl, I know you're here, because yeah, I know you're here. So it's Surviving Life, that's the name of the account. She's over on YouTube, and she left a comment sharing what her goal was and what she felt the thing was that was holding her back. So today we're going to talk about how you surviving life, and this is why I want you guys to leave your comments and participate when I ask questions, because you get to have your questions answered. You get your questions answered. So she said for her goal is around tapping into her feminine energy, right? That's her goal. She wants to tap into her feminine energy. How many of us can relate? I'm sure we all can, right? So for her, the biggest fear is the fear of being sexy. Ooh. How many times have we ever put on something and we're like, oh my God, my boobs are showing, or oh, I should probably cover up, right? And for those of you who you're watching over on YouTube, you guys know I have like a whole bunch of videos on like feminine energy, so you guys can definitely check that out. I'll probably link it in the iCards or in the description box, or if you're watching on Facebook, or if you're just in my program and getting this as one of the bonuses, then you guys also know where to find it. Just saying, my YouTube channel, that's where that is. So her biggest fear is being sexy, fear of being sexy. And I want you guys to see that this is not just about business, it's not just about entrepreneurship, this literally is life-changing on every level. So first thing is that she was raised Muslim, okay, number one. She's the only girl, she had only brothers. Deep into what my fear exactly is, okay. Roots of the fear, okay, so being Muslim, having only brothers, and so she's afraid to be sexy. How many of us can relate to some kind of religious-related fear, or, family-related fear? Like for me, I remember when I was afraid, like in the Caribbean, you have things like voodoo and these kind of things. So I was always afraid, like in the beginning of my business, I was afraid to be visible. I would never, even though I'm great on video and I love video and I love talking, I would not have done this video on my Facebook page. I would have done it in my Facebook group. I would have done it privately and sent the link individually to my clients to see it. I would not have done a video on my page because I had fear of being visible. And the reason that was because I had this fear. Again, cultural for her, it's religious, being Muslim, having only brothers, her family circumstance. I believe that if I was visible, then people would see me, they would bad mind, that's what we call it in the Caribbean, we're saying, bad mind or envy, and then they would try to voodoo me and kill me, and then I would die. I know guys, if you are not related to people from the Caribbean, or if you don't understand any about this thing, you're probably like, that makes, like, what? That's like way out there. And I just want you to know that this is how our fears are. I didn't want to die, I wanted to survive. So my archaic survival brain says, girl, if you post a video on your Facebook page where it's public for all to see, bitch, you're gonna die. They're going to kill you, right? So I'm just like, okay, let me just hide myself, let me just play small, because being visible, being seen meant you got killed, meant you got hurt, right? So for you want to be sexy. All right, you want to be sexy and you have this fear. So the first thing I want to say to you, let me just tune into you. Surviving life. Okay. Awakening your awakening to our divine path. Let's see. What is the message for her? By the way, you're so beautiful. Beautiful photo. What is the message for her? She's afraid of being sexy. So I want you, okay, this is the part where it gets uncomfortable, but I want you to go even deeper into what happens when you are sexy, right? So you saw how I actually said, like, and you don't have to actually post this or comment this on actual YouTube or on the group, but you can do this in your journal. When you are sexy, when you are empowered, when you're in that empowered feminine, what usually happens to women in your community when they are sexy? Or what would have happened to the women in your community when they were sexy? I want you to list out all the things, even if it's like, oh God, I don't want to say that, like it's so hurt, like that's so deep. Like say, like write it out, write it out, write it out, write it out. And I want you to actually see. Do you see how we have that like constricted, like even as I'm thinking about you and I'm thinking about you watching this, I'm thinking about like you get constricted, you get like tight, you're like, you think about it and you think about like being banished, like being abandoned, like no one, you are rejected completely from your tribe and from your clan, like no one wants you around, you know, or you get hurt, like physically hurt, you know, like men, other people will try to take advantage of you, like all these things. And so there's this constriction in your, like in your solar plexus, like in this stomach area, right, this tightening, so you're not able to open up and breathe and be free and like, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy, I get to embrace that, right? Because if you do, then you might die, or you might get rejected, or you might be stoned, or whatever bad thing might happen. So I want you to see that do you see that tension? And everybody else listening here and watching, I want you to feel into that, because some of us have that belief as well. And that same example, this is reaching to many of you actually. I want you to feel into, if you could not be free to express yourself, or if you were sexy, like all the negatives that would have come with that. Do you feel that? Do you guys feel how heavy that is? That is why you want to take action, you want to move forward, you want to wear something that's, you know, just shows a little décolleté, you just want to like wear a little halter top or something, and you're like, oh my God, is this too much? Right? You have this beautiful, big, beautiful hair, and you're like, you just want to like let it, you just want to live your fantasy. But then there's this heaviness. Do you feel the ick and the muck? So what has to happen is we have to neutralize that energy. We have to actually neutralize it. And in order to neutralize it, it's going through like a series of protocols. So if you remember, we talked about on part 1, we talked about the branches, right? We talked about not enough being the seed. And we talked about not enough money, not enough time, not enough support, not enough love, and how all these things are just branches from that core seed. You remember that? So it is, okay, if I am sexy, then I will lose everything. If I'm sexy, then I will die. If I'm sexy, then I'm a bad person. Like, think about all of that. And I want you to get to this core, right? Let's say for you, the core is, I will not be worthy. Okay, I won't be worthy, right? Because they're gonna kill you. How dare you? You're no longer worthy. You lack value. You're distasteful. Like all these negative things, right? So let's say the core fear is unworthiness. You are not worthy. And now I want you to actually see how, even though your main goal is this thing of your feminine energy and being sexy, right? This fear is around that, the main thing is around that. I want you to see how this is actually playing over into every area of your life. So I want you to think about where, my darling surviving life, awakening to a divine path, where on your path do you feel like you're not worthy of people's time? You know, maybe you're messaging them and then they're not answering, or you're giving them all of your time and then they're just giving you like, okay, like one word sentences or something, right? Where are you not worthy of people's time? I want you to think about, where are you not worthy of success, right? I want you to think about, where are you not worthy of support? You know, maybe you're everyone's biggest cheerleader, but who's pouring into you? Where are you not worthy of support? And I want you to see that even though it is manifesting and the biggest urgent thing for you right now is this fear of being sexy, I want you to see how it's beyond that. And when you transform this seed and this belief, not only do you find yourself sexy in all your essence and in all your glory, and you find it divine, and you find it magnetic and magnificent and powerful and empowering, but all of a sudden you see that you're not just worthy of being sexy, you are worthy of expression, you're worthy of being creative. So you see your business and your account here on your YouTube where you have 5 subscribers, all of a sudden you believe you're worthy of having a YouTube channel that's thriving. You now believe you're worthy of clients and people reaching out to you, and people in your, maybe want to sell a course or something, you know, people coming to work with you in your programs and things like that. Maybe now you see that you're worthy of writing the book that's in your heart to write. Maybe now that you see you're worthy to speak on stage, to have retreats, and to have these very, like, deep retreats where women can come and people can come and awaken to their divine path, right? And you're doing energy work and all these things. You're worthy of that. So it's about diffusing, but first you cannot diffuse it because you didn't really know it even existed. You just felt this fear of being sexy, and you knew, oh, my dad's probably gonna be upset, or my brothers are gonna be like this, or something bad might happen to me, and so you're like holding yourself back from being sexy, but you never allowed yourself to realize how deeply crippling this fear has been. Right? Where when you go to do your makeup or to style your hair, you second guess yourself. Every time you go to put on an outfit, you second guess yourself. Right? You're like, oh my God, I want to try this beautiful lipstick. Like Rihanna comes up with all these lipsticks and you're like, I want to try this lipstick. It's so gorgeous. And then you're like, oh my God, is this too much? Like, should I, like, you know? And then you have like a double life where like on one hand you're like this, or you're okay at some places, and other times you're not. And again, this is not like about any judgment. This is like for you to see just how much this one little fear has like evolved and just like taken over. So, cellular level, DNA level, right? Fears get coded in to protect us. That's why they're there. But it's for us to recognize and and again, I'll teach you the protocol as we go through the rest of the days of the challenge, and also I'll do the protocol directly with you. I will actually coach you through the protocol and do it with you in the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course, which, by the way, early bird for the program is open now. The links will be listed below. I'll actually list it right now for the Facebook watchers. And there's actually early bird pricing, and there's also a special payment plan as well for those of you who want to join now. And I'll actually be going through, and you get bonus calls and stuff, so I actually go through this with you. I give you these tools. I give you all the tools so that you can have it. Okay, let me just type it into the chat for you. I'll type it in a second. So let me know, guys, what questions do you have? What questions do you have about the cellular aspect and the DNA? And you might think, again, Chanel, DNA, but there are so many scientific studies that prove this, and I do teach it in the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course so you can understand exactly how it works. And one of the other analogies I like to use, this is actually not my analogy, the Lion King one from day one was, but this one is one that I learned from my mentor, and it is around the whole thing of viruses. It's like you have your computer, it's brand new, and all of a sudden the computer starts moving slow, and you're like, why is my computer moving so slowly, right? Why is my computer moving so slowly? I just posted the link for the course for those of you who want to join me. When you sign up, if early bird ends when the challenge ends, so if you want to get that early bird pricing, then you definitely want to go in and jump in now when we get to start doing this with you. But where was I? Oh yeah, so it's kind of like you buy a new computer, and the computer was good all along, and now it starts moving slowly, and you're like, what's wrong with my computer? And you feel like this computer is not working right, and it's kind of like that with life. You know, you were born as this beautiful baby. This part is not my mentor's analogy. This is me adding my analogy into my mentor's analogy to create like a different analogy, but it's the same concept of virus. Her analogy is the virus in the computer. But anyway, so here you are, beautiful baby, brand new computer, and then all of a sudden now you start moving slowly. You're not at your optimal, you're not at your peak, you're not at your highest level of functioning. And that is because there's a virus on the computer. There's a virus in the programming. And that virus came from the DNA, which says you're not good. It was a system defect. When you bought the computer, it came with a system defect, that virus. Or, you know, the virus, you downloaded the virus, right? When you were opening a document and you downloaded a virus. Just like, you know, you were talking to your mom and you downloaded her virus from every day her saying that, or your dad every day him saying that. So it's important that you have the virus protection software, which is when you have this tool, you will always be protected from new viruses, new fears, new limiting beliefs coming in, because they're always coming in, especially with this day and age with media and images of people, and you're like, oh, well, I need to look like that, or I need to do this so that I feel good, or so that I'm good enough, or I need this, or I need validation, and, you know, we're always being coded, we're always constantly being brainwashed. And so you need the virus protection software so that you don't infect yourself with these viruses from external sources. Right? Do you get that, guys? This last part about like the modern day thing, that was me, that was all me. Oh my god. So yeah, you want to be able to just release the fears and recode. You need the antidote, you need the virus protection, you need the thing to go in and delete the virus and reprogram and rewrite the thing so that the hardware becomes clean, right? And remember that limiting beliefs get created through high intensity emotion and through repetition. Those are the two ways. And even though repetition is cool, and that's why people have like mantras and they're like mantra every day, affirmations. The thing is that affirmations take forever because you're rewriting a belief that you've had for decades. You know, most people watching this will be older than 20 years old or older than 18. Most people will be older than 18 years old for sure. And so you're watching this and you have like more than 2 decades or almost 2 decades and more of programming. So getting up every day with just a mantra and saying, I am enough, I am worthy, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to change it. You have to understand how to actually recode that 97% of the junk DNA so that your subconscious mind is no longer looking for the fear, but it's looking for the success. And one of the things I want you to do right now, last thing we do, and then we'll wrap up, we go. It's an activity that I do with my clients. I don't remember who I learned it from, but I definitely learned it from somewhere. Like, I don't remember who. I do watch like a lot of stuff, so I don't remember where I picked this one up from. If you know who's the originator of this activity, you can always share it in the comments. But I want you to look around the room, and I want you to tell me how many things you see that are red. Red. Pick out all the things that are red. Okay, red. Okay, cool, red. I think it's probably a Tony Robbins example, but anyhow, red, great. So how many things did you see that were yellow? Don't look now, just tell me, when you were looking for the red, how many yellow things did you see? Most likely none. It's because your focus was on the red, right? But if I tell you now to look for yellow, like yellow is everywhere. Yellow is all over the place, right? And that's because your focus was on the red. And so your subconscious mind, your fear-based mind, you coded it in or you downloaded these fears that says, you are not enough, aka red. So your fear-based mind says, I am not enough. So you find friends that make you feel like crap. I'm not enough. So you find partners that make you feel like you're not enough. I'm not enough. So you pick an industry, you pick a topic, you pick everything in your life you choose that makes you reinforce that belief of you are not enough. So that's one of the reasons why you attract the people you attract, that reinforce the beliefs that you are trying to get rid of, right? So maybe for you, surviving life, who you get the example of fear of being sexy, how many times have you manifested guys in your surrounding who probably looked at you like maybe you were too sexy, or they made you feel objectified, right? If you were sexy, it's because your subconscious mind is looking for red. It's looking for the red. But if you recode it, and again, like I said, I like the original concept of red and yellow is the Tony Robbins, I think. But this concept of how it actually applies to your fear, this is my spin on it. This is my take on it. So it's the same with your fear, because if your subconscious mind no longer believes that it's unsafe to be sexy, it's like, oh my god, I love being sexy. So now all of a sudden your subconscious mind is like, it's safe to be sexy, oh my god, be sexy. So now you're looking for all the things that are going to make you feel sexy, which doesn't just come from how you dress and how you look, but maybe it means you're going to go get a massage or get a facial or do some kind of self-care thing that makes you feel so beautiful and so sexy and totally in your power and totally in your essence. Or maybe because your subconscious mind now is looking for the yellow, it's looking for it is safe to be sexy. When you look in the mirror, you realize, oh my god, I'm just naturally so damn sexy. Oh my god, right? So that's just an example. But yeah, guys, so let me know in the comments what your questions are on this topic, because I know it's like next level in terms of, I don't even consider it woo-woo, because it's very, very, very much steeped in science. There's tons of science behind this whole DNA and the coding of fear, and how to actually transmute that and how to eliminate that. So if you have questions about that, please type them in the comments. And remember, if you are watching this as a recording and you did not sign up for the actual challenge, there's a link below for you to use, or around this video for you to use, where you can go ahead and sign up for the challenge so that you get the other days and so that you get the recordings for the limited time while they are still up. Okay, and what else? Oh, and for those of you who are like, Shaniel, you know what? I'm done carrying my ancestral legacy of fears and BS and like not thriving, not living my best life from the Holocaust or from slavery or from the Great Depression or from when, Aboriginal people's lands were taken, genocides and things. Like, if you know you are like, I'm over ancestral lineages of fear and lack and limitation, and I'm ready to thrive and live my best life and step into my next level of success and take my generation with me and take my family with me and take my entire tribe with me, then I want to invite you to join me for the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course. It is the most powerful, transformative personal development program on the planet for those of you who want to become someone happy, right? Because not just happy in terms of like success and money, yes, that as well, but also in terms of your quality of life, being unapologetic, being unafraid, showing up, being visible, putting yourself out there. The clients who I've taken through this process, they've done over the past 5 years, because I do this course, the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course. I do it once every 2 years, but every client of mine goes through this process, every single one of them. And I've had clients who've gone from working as a security guard, late night shifts, for barely any money, who then, after going through this work, within weeks, just weeks of completing this process, quit the job, moved to Las Vegas, and had their biggest months ever in their business. They were not doing anything new or anything different, but just their whole essence changed, and they were making money in their business. I've had actresses who've gone through this program who literally were able to go back to their grandparents and all these people and really bring them into the realm of success with them. All right, these are like the first set of students who went through this process. And then I've also had clients who, in terms of entrepreneurship and business owners, who've gone through this, and they went from having like shame and fears around their business and not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, not thinking anybody would want what they had to offer, or that they had to be like the industry gurus to be successful. And I've watched those people go from having $0 months to, after going through this process, within 24 hours of going through this process, they're making $7,500 in a day from this process. And it's not some magic pill or some secret. Actually, it is a secret thing because most people don't know this. This is why I'm doing this program, But when you understand this, you can transmute every era of your life. I've had clients who they've used this in their relationships and they've gotten the guy to propose. I've had people who've used this in their relationship and they've, walked away from the toxic relationship and gotten the divorce that they were contemplating, right? I've had clients who went through this who finally got pregnant and didn't just get pregnant and freak out. They got pregnant and they were happy. They felt content. They knew they could handle being a mom. They knew they had what it took, right? So there are people all across the world, women from over 28 countries, and men as well, but mostly women, like 99% women, have gone through this process and overcome fears and healed trauma and fixed relationships and made money and started businesses and launched businesses. And some of them, I even have clients who they were selling one thing and it was not aligned to their soul path and their soul purpose and why God put them on this planet. And by going through this thing of being fearless, they were able to walk away from the lies, walk away from that thing they spent so long building that just wasn't them anymore, and they were able to go boldly into the new habitat, new territory. Clients who they've become best-selling authors, right? Like just last week, another one of my clients who went through this process, she was actually in this specific course 2 years ago when I ran it live 2 years ago, and she just did again her second best-selling book, live events, all the things, right? So if you're a catalyst, if you're somebody who you want to change the world, you want to do things that are powerful, you want to do things that are potent, and you know that fear is holding you back, you want to have that YouTube channel, you want to be on video, you want to have, you want to be an influencer, you want to start a charity, it doesn't matter what the thing is. This is why this course is so important. Like, it's important because it is for the person who is here to create change in the world. It is for the person who is done playing small and done just Googling and researching and trying to be perfect, and who is ready to say, you know what, I'm ready to soar, I'm ready to thrive. And so I want to invite you to come join me for the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course live this year, this moment. The enrollment is now open. The doors are open during an early bird period while we're running this challenge. I want to serve you. I want to help you to kick those nasty little fears to the curb, and I want to give you a toolbox so that as you go from now to becoming a millionaire, from a millionaire to a billionaire, or whatever your goal is, maybe you just want to touch people's lives, as you grow, you will always be able to refer to these tools. Guys, I haven't taken on any new tools. I use these in terms of my mindset and all that kind of stuff and fears. I use the same tool every time I'm quantum leaping. Every time I'm up leveling, I go back to these same tools. These tools took me from having a business where for 8 months I didn't make a single dollar, and it took me to having consistent $5,000 months, consistent $10,000 months, then 20, then 60. Like, it took me to where I am today. And I want you to know that it's time you had that same kind of transformation, not just about money, not just about business, but in every area of your life, with your body, with your weight, with your passion, with your romance, with your relationships. And so the link is there. It's in the description. It's in the description or in the comment section. It's chanel.com/FFLLMC. Or just check the link in the description just in case it's a different link in the future. But come join me. Come join me. There's an extended payment plan to make it super easy for you right now. And there's also an early bird bonus right now where you get to save $250 off the full price, but you still get all the you still get all the group coaching calls, you still get all the support in the Facebook group, and you get lifetime access to the program. So as I update it, as I add new things in, as I share new dynamics and new layers and levels, you'll never have to sign up again to get those modules. You always have those modules for life. So I love you so much, and I hope you do decide to join me for the program, because it will change your life. And look forward to having you and talking to you and meeting you and working with you and supporting you on this journey to becoming the fierce, fearless, goddess, sexy, badass, rock star, world changer that you are divinely called, ordained, orchestrated, created to be. Love you so much. Mwah. Kisses, peace, and love to you, and I'll see you on day 3. Remember, if you didn't sign up to actually be a part of the challenge, there's a link in the below as well, or around the video as well, for the challenge, so that you can get the email notification and the replays and all that, and also bonus PDFs and anything that I decide to add to this challenge as well. And then for those of you who want to be in the program, you know, just click that link and head over to the page and sign up. And once you sign up, you'll get taken directly to the the members area, and you can start diving in right now, today. Once you sign up, you get your welcome package straight away and some bonuses straight away. So love you, and I will see you on day 3. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the Fear Free and Living Legendary Master Course, where we get to do this together. All right, love you, bye.